already believe we've got some people watching us from various locations. I've never had that. Okay, so as I alluded to last class, and econ students this morning heard this, and folks that have new formulas. So again, note taking in here is an important skill. So exams are 100% on things we talk about in class. So the better your notes, the better your exams will be. I use the quizzes to get you to read the book a little bit. So there's really kind of two distinct things going on in here. Now, obviously, I talk about a lot of things in the book, but I don't read you the book. After 35 years, I've got a lot of my own material and things that I want to do and not do that maybe a particular author does. This is probably at least 10 to 12 different author I've used for textbook for my own, to keep from getting bored, I guess. I switch authors every 4 or 5 years, and so we're working with this guy right now, but I'll probably switch again in a couple of years. But anyway, as we get started, we're going to introduce, there's only about 2 names, maybe 3 names you need to know all semester. And this is a running gag with alums who still email me back and throw Peter Drucker at me because he's worth points on your exams if needed. So a little background story to get warmed up. So Peter Drucker, he's been gone now probably, I think, about 30 years. So we're talking about somebody from the past, but probably definitely the most famous management thinker, author of the 20th century. And you'll see him quoted in lots and lots of books. I think he wrote about 50 different books on management. And so I call him the, he's the patron saint for a Catholic school, right? So patron saint of lost management causes. Okay, I'm making that up, right? So he's a patron saint of lost management causes. And by that I mean, okay, we have essay, short answer tests in here. You get to a 10-point essay, and Sarah has no idea what the answer is, and she doesn't want to take a 0 out of 10. So what she has to do is write me a nice story about Peter Drucker. Like Peter Drucker and her went bowling, and then just write a paragraph to entertain. It's all about me being amused. Okay. The more the entertain, I don't have to be super entertained, but just, talk about how great it is to hang out with Peter Drucker. Okay. So it's all for fun. And I've got some great stories over the years, and I still have alums send me Peter Drucker poems, and actually students in my upper division management classes always try to pull his name out to try to get points in other classes. It only works in this class. Okay, so he is the patron saint of lost management causes. And so I know Mr. Beutin just graduated from a Catholic school, so he's big on his saints, and so he obviously will need some help. So anyway, works on exams only, not quizzes. You have no idea on a test question, write down Peter Drucker and just say something silly. Okay, whatever, I don't care. The more entertaining, the better. I show the good ones just to get a good laugh. They do amuse me. So anyway, there's nothing, you don't have to write that down if you didn't print out the slides. No need to do that. There's no need to memorize that. It really just is kind of a way to start the semester, right? So this is one of many things he said in many, many books. And so as we take a look at the quote, he's really basically saying is that as we look at advanced nations, and lots of my econ folks are in here, were in my class this morning. One of the reasons some countries get rich and some countries don't, it really is effective management. Okay, countries that have well-run organizations, well-managed organizations, do better economically, and That's really all he's saying there. So there's a value to understanding management. And so good old Peter F. Okay, so just a little background on him. I'm really brief with my PowerPoints. I don't click through, I never click through 75 slides in a class. It's just bare bones up here. And then I amplify. So as I was telling my students this morning, you got to write down way more than is on the slides. Okay. And we're just going to start with a warm-up question. Okay. And we're going to come up with a list of 10 things managers do. And Nick, go ahead. We'll let you have the first one. So you've worked, right? You have. So just something you saw your bosses do.
Delegate jobs for departments.
Very fancy word. Assign tasks, delegate tasks, right? Wally, we'll just jump around a little bit. Goals, set goals. Cool. I like that one. Jack, I've got a few of you down to those. So Jack will
Keep everyone on that.
okay, keep everybody on task. So I don't repeat the same word. I'll call it oversight. Abby, I know you're tired, but anyway.
Like schedule.
They schedule, yeah. So again, for those of you that have worked part-time or full-time, yeah, just think of your bosses, right? What are some things you knew they did, or maybe somebody who's in a supervisor position?
Like got to know us.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Luke,
Got to know us.
got to know us, yeah. Trying to connect that to a management function. Yeah.
Relationships.
Yeah, develop that. Thank you. That's a nice way to say it. You're better than me today. All right. Thanks, Luke. Robert? All the good ones are taken. What a boss does.
They had one of them.
Go ahead, Wally. You can say it.
Make decisions.
Make decisions. You don't play goalie, do you?
No.
No. Okay. Hit the save thing. That was pretty quick, right? Yeah, they make decisions about all kinds of things, and we'll learn. In.
My thoughts micromanages.
Okay. Okay. So that's not a good quality, but yeah, they do that. Yeah. So it kind of connects to what we talked about before. Mason. Only got room for 3 more.
I guess time management.
Time management. Well, Robert thought it is. Go ahead.
Like a morale leader kind of.
Yeah, motivates.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. It's interesting how these are going. And then I thought, yeah,
Handle conflict.
conflict. So it could be conflict with employees or customers, right? Yeah. So just keeping up. The next class will go completely different direction. So I'll elaborate more on that. Nothing magic about this either. It's just get people to talk, get used to me, all that kind of stuff. So I do a lot for folks that have new for. No need to memorize that. Don't study it. Okay. We'll talk about a lot of this stuff during the semester, but it's just kind of a warm-up activity. Okay. So now we'll get started with stuff that if you print out the slide, you'll save yourself a lot of time. But if you're one that prefers to write things down, that's what takes me. So we got a definition of management up here. As I said, I've used lots of books over the years, and this is kind of a hodgepodge of lots of different texts I used over time, and so it's kind of my made-up definition. And what I want to do, and what you should know really, is not so much the definition, but I'm going to break it down into some pieces and explain some lingo within. So there's some key parts to this. So I'm just going to kind of break that down. So won't spend too much time on ongoing. I think we alluded to this just slightly the other day. Yeah, as a manager, your job may go on beyond your workday, right? So particularly the place that's open 24/7, like a Quick Trip. So you go home from your shift and an employee calls in sick or gets sick at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, you're still a manager, you know, even when you're sleeping, so to speak. So management isn't like we do it and then we're done. It is ongoing. Cool. The 2 pieces that I want to look at in particular First one is organizational resources. So for folks that have had me before, and Sarah knows the answer to this. So Sarah, if I was to reframe this in a question, what would I say in the exam?
Give some examples of
Yeah,
organizational
yeah, right. So,
resources.
yeah, exactly. So on the exam, I could say, list and describe 3 of the organizational resources, right? So what you want to kind of coach yourself to do, and I tell, my students as many times as I can, think of me as I'm giving you answers to possible test questions. That sounds so transactional, doesn't it? But that's kind of what college is. It's what school is, right? Teacher talks about stuff. You got to learn it and spit it back. So why not make it easier for you by doing that? So list and describe organizational resources. So I'm going to tell you that we're going to talk about 4. And there's more, but 4 big ones. Okay. So you got your little list going in your notes. There are physical resources. Mason's sitting at a desk. Okay. We've got a computer up there. We've got a desk over here. Okay. In a factory, we've got machinery, we've got equipment. Think of it as things you can touch, inventory, machinery, equipment, those kind of things. Those are physical resources. Okay. So for an organization to exist and run, they need physical resources. Cool. All right. We also need, actually, I'm going to use a different word. Let's go with this. Fiscal resources. Well, we need money. Okay. Right. We have to purchase inventory. We have to purchase equipment. We have to pay our employees. From a accounting perspective, the business operates, and if we generate profit, cool. We can put it into our retained earnings, save it, have it for a future rainy day, if you will, just like all of us save, right? So we need monetary things in order to buy equipment, pay employees, remodel a building, build a new building, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So fiscal resources, monetary resources, money, capital, okay, are all terms we can use interchangeably. Okay. And probably the most important, I probably should put it number 1, but yeah, human resources. So Wally's in my human resource management class. So he's doing this 4 days a week. Okay. Human resources, yeah, you need talent, right? So you need human capital. You need talent. You need bodies. And whether it be physical labor in a manufacturing situation or IT people, people that can code, whatever, you need talent, okay, in order to carry out your mission. And then finally, I got a catch-all category here. I don't know why you're not. But intangible resources. So the first three, we can, kind of, I'll just say it this way, see and touch, so to speak. But intangible resources are we're a little less able to see them, touch them, experience them. So they're things like brand reputation, right? So Mason's got his phone sitting out. So is it an iPhone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Apple has a brand reputation, right? That a great bulk of our country has bought into, and so we own Apple stuff. I'm not a phone person, but I got one up here too. I never have it on. I forget to answer it all the time, but that's another story. Okay. So brand reputation. Okay. If you had a patent or a trademark or some kind of intellectual property, those are intangibles. Your company provides good customer service. That's an intangible. Okay. And again, stuff that's a little more nebulous, vague. It's great to have, but You can't really see it. Okay. So we have those resources. And then a manager's job, a manager's job, a manager's job, a manager's job, it used to be repeat things on purpose, right? Is to lead or deploy those things over there toward the goals of the organization. So as a manager, think of those 4 things as stuff we got to put in the mixing bowl. As a manager, I got to play with the combination of things over there and accomplish stuff. Okay. As you can guess, and Sarah would already tell me, list and describe types of organizational goals. So most of you would get this, right? So first and foremost, that would come to mind, of course, are, and we'll kind of reuse the word over there. So, right, we've got fiscal goals, right? So, and they can be profit, sales. I'm not going to list every example, cash flow. Just name a few, right? So we have fiscal goals. We have, and again, we're talking organizations in general. Most organizations have some customer service goals. We want to retain 95% of our customers. We'd like 90% of our customers to purchase from us again. We've all been to McDonald's at some point in their life. You go into McDonald's now, and the number of minutes it took you to get waited on by the cashier and your food served, there's a little clock ticking at most McDonald's I've ever been in, right? These are all goals that organizations are measuring to determine whether or not customers are happy. Happy customers are more likely to buy from you again. For those of you new to university life, at the end of the semester, I know we don't, outside of business, most professors don't use these terms, but I'm smart enough to know you're really customers. You're paying a lot of money for this experience. And so at the end of the semester in all your classes, you'll fill out a survey about the course. And it'll be about me, and it'll be about the course in general, and they'll ask you a bunch of questions. It's kind of like a customer service survey. Okay. Now, people outside the business department would be mad at me if I called you customers. So if you got any professors from other departments, ask if they think you're a customer, and they'll tell you, God, no, you're not. But you are. You're paying money. Right, Nick? Okay. A lot of money. Yeah. And I'm giving you something for it, so you're a customer, right? All right. So customer service goals are important. Customer satisfaction, important. We also have, mentioned Wally before, we also have goals for our employees, right? So we don't want people to pick up and quit. We want to retain people. We want to hire good people. We want people to stay with us. We want people to be productive in the workplace. All kinds of employee goals that we can talk about. One of the questions on the quiz was efficiency. So Ian's one of my employees. Part of what I do is measure his efficiency. HR, human resource goals, employee related goals, yeah. So we have goals for our employees. All right. And I'm trying to come up with a good catch-all word for the next one. I used to say social responsibility, but I think I'm going to just say, Franklin and David, we live in a again, quotation marks, green world, right? Most companies, though they may be only telling you marketing lies, but most companies will talk about, here's some goals for the environment. Okay. Some of you probably have heard the word sustainability. Okay. And so we want to be a sustainable organization. We want to use natural products. The big thing in restaurants now, some of you may have noticed, everybody's farm to fresh now. Are they really? Probably not. But they're telling you are, because we all want to hear that. Okay. And I would go up marks. So Lots of farm refreshment to do, that expensive lots of live there. Have you noticed that? Yeah. That's a big thing around here. Most of the restaurants around here, La Crosse and Winona, it's on their menu, farm to fresh. Okay. So that's tied into that environmental thing. They're probably not being truthful with you necessarily, because I bet all their products aren't farm to fresh, farm to fresh. All right, so we got those goals. So one more time, managers got to do stuff with that stuff to make this stuff happen. 5th grade. Do that, work with that, make that happen. 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 First room I've been in all semester with the racers. Quite excited. Okay. Your downfall. Life would have been good. Which one did you think of? Control. Okay. So as I alluded to, we were going over the chapter, looking at the chapter on Tuesday. Management, some books use 5, this one uses 4. And so whatever the author does, we'll work with, right? But there are 4 major activities that all managers do. 4 major activities that all managers do. What I would also write down is, depending on the level, the managers at the top, for example, will do more planning. Managers at the bottom are going to do more leading and controlling. So where you are in the organizational chart will dictate to what degree you use a mix here. So, but all managers do all of these, just some of them do more of one thing than the other. So it's not like all managers spend 25, 25, 25, 25. Going through my papers here, but that name association going. Justin's right here. Yeah. Okay. Justin, so when you hear planning, what's going on?
They kind of set out goals and then they try to get strategies to get there.
Geez. It's gonna half my work already. Cool. All right. Yeah. I don't even have to go any further. Thank you, Justin. All right. So this first one we're going to spend the most amount of time on because we're going to come to it first in the semester. I usually tell the students this is the primary management function, the most important management function, the fundamental management function, the king of the management functions, whatever you want to call it. So it's first for a reason. It's first for a reason because to do the other three, you have to plan. So to do the other three, have to plan. And Justin did an excellent job. So I think you said set goal, right?
Yeah.
All right. So there's going to be 4 steps here. And he did half my work, as I said. But he got 2 of them. Now, we'll back up 1 step. Before you can set down and create a goal, there's something else you have to do. Okay. So you can't just wake up in the morning and say, my goals are this. A company can't wake up and say, my goals are this. They have to do something first.
That would be like analyzing.
Oh, you demand. Yeah, exactly. So awesome. Some years it takes me a while to get through this. This is going quicker. Yeah, so step 1, and we're going to do this again and again and again. And I'll tell you this today, and many of you are going to take a lot more business courses. What I'm teaching you now is in marketing, it's in finance, it's name the subject, call this the basic planning process, right? So the first thing you have to do is analyze. Can't set a goal till you know what's going on out there. And we'll mention the term today, but we'll give it lip service. So organizations do what's called a SWOT analysis, which is looks at the internal environment, what's going on inside the organization, looks at the external environment. And okay, based on what we have, based on what's going on out there, we now can move on to set a goal. So for example, if we've analyzed our internal financial situation and we have no money, that limits, of course, what we can do. So thus, I think that shows nicely why we got to do this first. We have to assess internal and external environments. So then we set a goal, we develop a strategy to reach the goal. So here's what we want to do, here's how we're going to do it. So I say this a lot in here too. So it's a lot of what and how, what and how, what and how. What do we do? How do we do it? What do we do? How do we do it? What do we do? How do we do it? And then when the strategy is done, we evaluate, or the fancy management term for it is it's controlling, right? You're going to evaluate, assess, control. How did it work? It was awesome. How didn't it work? Those kind of things. Since Wally's a senior, he'll be in my story. You're legal to partake in the activity I'm going to speak of. So I don't want to put Sarah in a situation where she's doing something she shouldn't do. Yes, of course. Okay. All right. So it's senior year for Wally. You're going to stay here for the sake of the story. Yeah. You going home this weekend? No. No, good. All right. You'll be here. Activities. Will there be activities? Possibly. Possibly. We'll just call them activities. Will the activities take place on Friday night?
What's like on Saturday?
Well, we'll put for first. Well, Saturday's fine. Okay. So some of your buddies are. So Saturday, you guys get up and it's getting to be 3, 4 in the afternoon. What are you doing as far as the night's opportunities are concerned? See my smile? Okay. I like Thomas. So how do you analyze your entertainment strategy? What do you got to do? What do you got to do?
Internally, look at what people want to do, and I say,
Yeah, okay. What do you guys want to do? Okay, so talk to the employees or coworkers.
so what do you want to do?
Yeah, okay, you don't have to do it right now. Assuming you're not as wealthy as a St. Mary's professor. Okay, so money's an issue, right? So you're not going to a $150 plate restaurant. Okay, so you'll check your financial resources. Yes. Okay. You go, maybe you have to go to the ATM. Okay. Got a card here? Yeah. Okay. Transportation is taken care of. If I do this with freshmen, one of the assessments is, well, I got to get transportation. Okay. All right. So got wheels, got money, you got friends. Go ahead. Now that I've known him for a whole 4 days. Okay. So money, wheels, friends. Now you got to also assess the options, right? So we'll keep it generic. Option A, option B, option C, option D. Could go there, could go there, could go there, could go there. Party on campus, bar downtown. Okay. You're assessing that, so you do all that analyzing. And I'll let you create your own story in your head. So you have some goals now for the night, right? Okay. You don't have to say what the goals are. Okay. There's a goal. Why would one go out if there wasn't a goal? Okay, right? Yeah. Look at me like, oh, sure. Okay. You might think there wasn't a goal. Now be smiling underneath it. No. Grimacing? Sure. Connor, smiling. Yeah, no, you love cool. Your father was the expert in entertainment. Okay. So Bill had goals 7 nights a week, right? He's unlike me. I've seen the wisdom of not having those kind of goals anymore, but he So you have goals. The beauty of this is on recording, so you can play this for me. So, all right. So we got goals. So we got goals, whatever they are, right? You want to accomplish something your night out. So now we have to develop a strategy to make that happen. Go get the money, put gas in the car, drive to A, B, C, or D, and partake in whatever activities we're talking about. And this usually makes people laugh. Then wake up at 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. Wake up at 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon, and A, I'm never doing that again, or B, yeah, all right. What a serious group. All right, so the 4 steps of plan. Do the other 3 pretty quick. So we got organizing. And organizing is just the assignment, somebody mentioned before, assignment of resources to tasks, or excuse me, assignment of human resources to tasks. So we have to say who's going to do what our organizational structure is. Somebody mentioned motivation before, so influencing people, leading people, motivating people, that's the 3rd one. And the 4th one we've already kind of done, and that's assessing the outcome, assessing the strategy, evaluating the strategy. So the big one for today is this, then we'll go into more detail on the rest of them later in the semester. The other big piece from the chapter is right here, and always makes its way onto the first exam, right? Okay. So something we'll come back to again and again and again and again. We've got the levels of management. And your authors, I kind of told you it could be a potential quiz question. And so organizations have all organizations have a structure that mirrors this, right? Okay. So we've got a smaller number of top managers. Okay. What you want to know for the exam is some titles and what those folks do. So at the top, CEO, Chief Executive Officer, CFO, Chief Financial Officer, CIO, Chief Information Officer, COO, Chief Operations Officer, just throw a few up there. And these folks are big picture people, corporate goals, corporate strategies. In other words, they're thinking about the whole company, right? Big picture. One more term I'd write down is long term. Folks at the top are the long term people. We got middle managers and vice president of this, vice president of that, vice president of this. We can name a whole bunch of things. District managers, section managers, regional managers. Their main job is to communicate this stuff to the lower level managers down here. So their main job is to facilitate this, push this down, communicate this down, make sure this stuff happens at the bottom of the organization. So when you draw, if you draw this on the exam as part of the answer, I don't mind that, but make sure you explain it. So the first 3 are managers, and then for most of you, and frankly, me too, right? So the employees are down here. Okay. So we've got 3 levels of management, a layer of employees. I'm an employee. I'm nobody's manager. So I'm, Father Burns, if you know who he is, he's way up there, and Jeff Hafel's way down here. Okay. So I'm at the bottom, right? I'm nobody's boss. Okay. But lower level managers, and this is the places that you work, the store manager, the assistant manager, the department manager, shift leader. Some of you may have played these roles, right? And so these folks do, the day-to-day business. They deal with customers. They handle conflict. Somebody said that before. 3 levels of management, and we're going to do that to death. Okay. Very exciting. Okay. So I need you to scoot yourself with a person. Don't care who, just get close so I know who's who, and then I'm going to give you something to do. So I just need to see who's going to sit. It doesn't matter. You're going to chit chat about something. So if we're an odd number, one group will have 3 in it, which doesn't look good. Perfect. Okay, so listen close. Wipe the sweat off my face here. One of the things you looked at today was, management has changed, and that's kind of the beginning of your chapter. But this is old school stuff, right? The very traditional organization. So again, I won't try to overuse Connor's dad in the story, but so Bill and I, when we started working, we were working in a very traditional organization, and they had these characteristics. Modern management is doing more and more of this. Okay. Now, I'm going to assign you a pair, and when I do that, you have to note that the darn things in the table, they don't line up real good. So I think I'll just spell it out for you. So I'm going to start with Ian. Okay. So you two are going to do stable dynamic, and I'll tell you what to do with them in just a minute. So stable dynamic is yours. Okay. Inflexible, flexible is yours. Job focused, skill focused is yours. Work defined by positions, work defined in terms of tasks is yours. There are 2 women here. Let's see, individual oriented versus, and there's the drop down, team oriented. Individual and team. Then we go command oriented versus permanent jobs versus temporary jobs. I'm sorry. Individual oriented versus team oriented. Permanent jobs versus temporary jobs. Okay, yeah. So we'll go here. I'm going into managers always make decisions versus involvement oriented. Okay. Abby and Robert, you're going to do rule oriented versus employees participate in decision making. Okay. Lisa, we're going to put you with homogeneous workforce versus diverse workforce. Dom, and you're going to have workdays 9 to 5. Workdays have no boundaries, time boundaries. And Connor and Luke, you have got hierarchical relationships versus lateral and network relationships. Now, what you have to do is I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. And I'm big on, you're going to hear this a lot from me. If you want to have a good, successful career, you got to be able to communicate. It's so important. So I work the hell out of that kind of stuff in my classes. So you're going to talk in here. So what I want you to do is just, whatever that means to you, I don't care. Google, get your phone out, get your laptop out. And I want you to come up with a 1-minute speech that explains the difference between the left column and the right column. That's your job. And however you interpret it, whatever your little research, here's what I think's saying, and we're just going to do that. So grab some information and prepare a 60-second speech that explains the difference between your pairings. We'll give you about 5 minutes.
It's like kind of
Oh.
Yeah, I have a house.
Yeah, I heard she's got the
You
little
always
window,
go there. Until I get sick of it. Also, like, another characteristical flexible organization that is over like adapt to
And we'll go about another 90 seconds, and then I've got my stopwatch and my clock here, and you both get to talk for 60 seconds.
like how this is valued in different schools and what else. If you have an organization that is, you know, flexible, they're not gonna be willing to implement those type of changes. So then you're gonna have like a less, like a slower growth, you know, not as a organization.
Because I can say my word, you want to say that like towards the time it's like 50 people review.
Yeah.
Almost later on, this is
Yeah.
All right, we'll begin. So here, as I mentioned to you on Tuesday, I promise I never waste your time. So I don't do this unless there's value to it. I mean, there's value to learning, but I'm talking about, you know, the very transactional thing of, is it worth anything on the test? Yes. So you're going to have to know 3 of these. So other than your own. So take notes on 3 people. I'll tell you very explicitly to do that. Don't care which 3 you do, and just capture the essence of what they said. And it's just a way of getting you to engage a little bit in the process. Okay. All right, and to keep it easy, I'll just kind of go in the same order. And so, yeah, take notes on 3 of them. So other than your own. So we got our group over here to the left, and basically I won't interrupt you. I'm not going to ask follow-up questions. It's just, you know, practice speaking. Eventually we'll make you stand up and do that, but today is very casual. So you can just, now the thing some of you probably learned if you're here last year, through a mask, you've got to project your voice. So it is work, because I'm learning. I was home last year working from home, so this week's been an eye-opening experience. So yeah, you got to project a little bit, but the clock is going in Talk away. So they got the first one, stable dynamic.
All right, so me and Mason had stable dynamic. I choose dynamic, which is kind of characterized by constant change, activity, or progress, and it's also positive attitude and full of energy and new ideas. It's basically what I kind of took away from that is a lot of like workplaces nowadays want to make a work environment that's changing in order to keep their employees, kind of keep them active, and because people just love to be like part of the change nowadays instead of just kind of being stuck in a repetitive process. And yeah, it just increases productivity overall. I think that's one of the benefits of having a dynamic workplace. So.
And then I did stable, which is basically just not likely to give way or return. It's pretty firmly fixed. So like positions and jobs are pretty long term. Nothing much is really changing from day to day. It's pretty repetitive and the exact opposite of dynamic. So it's just very fixed in the state that it is.
That was exactly 67. Nick will verify his stuff. Okay, great. I pretty much I agree with what I said. So we've got inflexible, flexible. Wally's up. Reset step. Here we go.
So I had inflexible and flexible, and I'm thinking inflexible. So for inflexible, when I think of it as for an organization is an organization that is not willing to include your outside life into your job. They're not going to be able to work with you. And then as far as external factors, they're not going to be able to adapt to outside the outside environment. For example, nowadays we live in a world of data analytics and computers and technology. So if a business is not willing to implement those technologies and training programs into their companies, it might be left behind and undeveloped as quickly.
And then on the other hand, it's flexible. So the organization's going to work around your life goals, your aspirations in life. If you have a family, they're going to work with your schedule, which is really nice. They're going to adapt to your needs. And we're going to work together to kind of build a platform and build off of that. And like he was saying, business intelligence is a big thing with computers. And if you want to work from home now, kind of you have that flexibility. So it's really nice.
Yeah, and from a generational perspective, folks your age and 5, 6, 10 years older, you guys crave that for your jobs in the future. Your parents, me, your grandparents, we're used to coming in 8 to 5, and that's what we do, right? So, yeah, dead on. All right, go guys.
All right, so we have job focus and skills focus, and so job focus is more of like traditional jobs. I think of it more, I would say probably about like 50 years or 50 years ago when war was going on. They just needed bodies in the shop. There was no specific skills to really have people in those types of factories. It just depended on the job again. And it's more of a stable job as well. So I think it goes back to what they were saying, and it's like a pretty repetitive job.
The first 4 bullets really go together, the first 4 rows. Yeah.
And mine was skills focused, which is more like degree focused, and so they're looking for employees that have that specific skill that they're looking for. They'll have more requirements rather than like just a traditional job where you're, working at a fast food restaurant or something like that.
Everybody's pretty much right around 60. Go ahead, guys. Kyle.
Okay. Sure. So we had we're defined as a job position. So we kind of saw that as the work hires a new person in to fit the job description rather than.
No, you're good. You're doing fine. No, I mean, that's exactly right.
So they hire someone new, and it's more rigid, like not as fluid because they have to keep finding like a new person or to like kind of cover that section of the
Yeah,
job.
I got hired as a professor.
Yeah, so like work defined by task to be done is essentially like cutting out the middleman from that first one where the person, like before, it was a person is chosen to fit a position and then that position has designated tasks. Whereas instead, the firm already has a person with talent and they simply allocate the tasks that best fit that person. And so it's more fluid and open-ended and it's more efficient.
The timing has been incredible. I mean, it's 59 to 62. Go ahead.
Okay, so we had individually oriented and team oriented. So I did the more individual, and it's more of a person who is going to be like the lead and have a lot of value and be empowered. And they set more personal goals and they influence others. And they're more loosely linked, like they don't have like a set group that they are like specifically having to work with all the time.
Team oriented, people like to feel like they're a part of something and working towards something, and that's easier to do in a team oriented environment. You also get more points of view that way. Different perspectives can lead to bigger and better ideas.
Awesome. Yeah, classes look fantastic.
We had temporary jobs and permanent jobs. We were thinking like temporary jobs would be like a summer job that you may have when you go home from college, or a job, say you work there during high school, you have it for 2-3 years, and then maybe you find a full-time job moving into a permanent job.
Yeah, permanent job is basically just having, like, you know what your job is gonna be. You have like this basically full-time job that you have to go day in and day out. Like, you have like job security, so like you don't have to work, I guess, that hard to, like, because you're knowing that you're gonna get that permanent job. So it doesn't really matter like what your work is, because it's not gonna change, like, no matter, like, from season to season, like a temporary.
So we have managers make decisions and employees make decisions. So for managers making decisions, obviously we have one person making all the decisions. It could be, they would have to be right all the time, if you diversify everyone making decisions. And then it kind of creates a hierarchy of just one person always being in charge.
With the employees, it kind of gives the manager an opportunity to get some different point of views. A lot of the times, especially with their trusted employees, that they know they kind of understand most of the roles within that job, and also just leaves them at a different point of views and a wider view.
I have rule oriented. So rule oriented, you know, with kind of like set rules, and there's one person that makes the rules, and then it's kind of like a strict, in a sense, like list, like a list. And then we thought of like what the employee thinks, and there's like a sense of like trap, there's not freedom in their decisions. They just kind of are like a workhorse.
And then customer oriented, it's like they want to make the customers happy, like no matter what.
That's one, some of you may have, I'm sure a lot of you work in the customer service industry, just to add to that point. But yeah, I mean, there are places that customer complains and, well, there's a rule, we can't take that back, but organizations tend to, as you alluded to, make, you know, whatever the customer needs. So there's certain places that, you know, they bend over backwards. You know. We'll go behind this.
Yeah, so for homogeneous workers, first of all, homogeneous people that are similar, like race, gender, or just similar minded, and things that usually the same people work together, the same ideas. There's less growth, and they apply the same audience.
And then with the diverse workforce, you have like every kind of personality in there, so you can connect to a wider customer base. And it also allows more creative individuals, and once you have more creative and more imaginative individuals, they can build off of each other, come up with more innovative ideas to keep the company fresh, I guess. And you also get a lot of different points of view, even when it comes to like talking to a manager, listening, all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, and in 60 years, we went from an all-white Caucasian male workforce to where we are now, right? So women, all kinds of ethnic races and so on, and ethics, different races. Yeah, so it's not an all-white Caucasian male workforce anymore. So I think we got Connor and Luke. You have the next one, I assume. Or you have the 95. I'm sorry. Yeah.
We did.
Oh, you did. Go ahead. Let's keep it on.
The traditional 9 to 5, that kind of connects to the job focus earlier. It's like the factory worker, you're at your station from 9 to 5. You do more one day, you do less the other day, but 9 to 5 every day. That's all it is. That's how you get your 40 hours a week.
Yeah, I kind of thought that the workdays having no boundaries kind of goes back to the flexible workplace. Organizations are much more willing to schedule around like some of your life goals and aspirations.
Yeah.
And it helps
that, and, people is, that are my handwriting, so I can answer email 9 o'clock at night, I'm not awake that late, but, yeah, your phone, you can always work, right? Which prior to, we'll call it technology, I was pretty much limited, there was a time where I had a computer in my office, I didn't even own a computer at home, I mean, this we're talking 30 years ago, right? But, so I was confined to my work getting done here at school, well, I can work anytime I want to now, so, yeah, technology allows that. And Connor and Luke, wrap it up.
Yeah, we compared like work relationships when they're in hierarchy versus when they're in like lateral networks. We were talking about how in a hierarchy, it's more like a stream. The managers are at the top, and the idea is go downstream, but it doesn't go back on the stream at all. So it's below.
And then with like a lateral relationship, how like they have like a manager that has like fellow managers who are running like different like parts and departments that he gets input from those managers that he can then go change other parts of the company.
Very good. You guys did great. So that's it. Have a nice long weekend. Again, the reading schedule is on the syllabus. I think most of you know that. So we're on to chapter 2. Thank you all. Break for me. Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. See ya.
Yes, we do. So,